J.J. Watt.
Do you even live?
Flew into Phoenix yesterday, put on a Cardinals shirt, lifted weights, and shocked the world with a social media post. Why is this shocking? One, I think we knew as soon as DeAndre Hopkins started lobbying him, there was a real good chance he was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Two, he, I think, knows that he will do well in the NFC West.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of offensive lines that are lacking in the West.
Right.
And three, does he make the Arizona Cardinals a Super Bowl contender?
I don't think he takes them to Super Bowl contender status. I do think he takes them to division contender status now. There's no reason not to compete to win that division. Last year, you got off to this great start, and you finish 8-8. You finish as a 500 team, and that was really disappointing. And now I just think that one player is never going to take you from a 500 team to a Super Bowl contender, because that's where they're at. Like, everybody wants to. I feel like everybody thinks the Cardinals are way better than they are. They're a 500 team, and they've been a 500 team for quite some time. Now, part of that being a 500 team right now in this stage of it is that they're still putting things together. But now, what is this? Year 3, Kyler now, right? This will be his 3rd season coming up. And I think now that he's got some reps behind him and he knows what he needs to do, it's just going to be a matter of if Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray and that offense can stay on the same page all year long and keep the defense fresh. Because I think too many times what happens with this Cardinal team is their offense just goes to sleep. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Oh, and then we're going to have a good possession. And so the defense gets really tired, and it costs them games. And so I would hope that, you've got Chandler Jones on one side, you've got J.J. Watt now on the other side. Hopefully, the offense will get more opportunities, because you would think that, again, to your point, what you were just saying, in that division, those guys really should be able to eat. And if you're Russell Wilson, this is just expediting your process to get out of the division. That's all this is doing, because you don't want to play against those two guys twice a year, every single year.
Well, what I think is so fascinating is that the Cardinals have a history of signing big-name defensive talent.
Mm-hmm.
They go out and they get guys who can play on the defensive side of the football. I think we've seen that with Chandler Jones. I think now we're seeing it again with J.J. Watt. And if you go back, you can even look at guys like Emmitt Smith,
mm-hmm.
who came here, at the end of their careers. Is J.J. Watt at the end of his career? He's probably closer to it than he's not. The biggest question is, are you investing in another guy who can't stay on the field? This is a huge question mark for the Arizona Cardinals. You did it with Tyrann Mathieu, and it blew up in your face.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at J.J. Watt. Okay, I had to. I look at J.J. He played 16 games 2 of the last 3 years. But last year he played 16 games, and he had 5 sacks.
Do you think that when it comes to injuries, with where J.J. Watt's coming from in the Texans, do you think that guys are more willing to play through injury for an organization that values them? Because I think they are. Because you think about it, how many of those injuries? Because he's had some pretty serious injuries, but some of those injuries, like how many of those has he drug out a little bit? Because he knows he's not I'm not going to the Super Bowl this year. I'm not even going to the postseason this year. Am I really going to force my body to go through that if we're not even really going to play for the postseason?
I think heart matters on the defensive line. I mean, you can be lazy as a tight end. You cannot run every route at 100% if you're a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
On defense, you can't be lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're lazy on the defensive line, you're going to be a 0. If you're lazy in the secondary, you're giving up touchdowns, right? J.J. Watt is an effort player. But I would agree with you that he probably had a lack of want to at times last year. He played 16 games. I mean, the guy was an impact player last year. I'm just curious if he can stay healthy in Arizona. I mean, obviously the climate lends well to rehab, and inflammation tends to be less in Arizona in the desert. It's why everybody comes out during the offseason, has surgery. James Harden included is a guy that we know, rented homes, near. I should say we almost had him rent one of our houses in Greyhawk, but whatever. The point is, guys like that go to Arizona in the offseason to have surgery.
Right.
Because the climate is much more conducive to extending your career. J.J. Watt has a lot left in the tank.
Yeah.
I have no question about that. My biggest question is Kyler Murray, not J.J. Watt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did we see development out of Kyler Murray last year? I would like to think so, but when I really look at his numbers, I have some questions. I was deep diving into Kyler's numbers from last year. I mean, his completion percentage went up,
Right.
but it's still only 67%, and they're a 500 football team.
Well, 67% is pretty damn good.
Well, but it's not elite. And if you're going to win a Super Bowl, I think
Well, what was it? Just 7 years ago that 60% was elite. Now
Right,
people want 70%.
But look who won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You have an elite passer who won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like, and I think if you look at both sides of the football,
Yeah.
and if you look at who's really making a difference at quarterback in this league, why is Justin Herbert such a sensation?
Yeah.
Because he really throws the ball well.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray throws the ball well, but when you're his size and his stature,
Yeah.
you're doing that outside the pocket a lot more. That's going to lend itself to against elite defenses, late in seasons, late in playoff runs. You're going to turn the ball over.
There's a lot of improv that goes on for Kyler Murray. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that. I think that is actually I feel like that was almost a selling point when the draft came around and it was his time to get taken. And I think that guys like Justin Herbert, what is he, 6'4"-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood, I think. When you have that height and the ability to see over the line and kind of the ability to, read the defense and everything, and also Kyler Murray's constantly in the shotgun, literally, not even joking, because he can't see over the offensive line. So when you can't be under center a lot, when you're constantly in shotgun in this league, that it does limit you on some level, because if you look at Tom Brady, he's under center a lot. They run a lot of play action out of that set, and I think that the Cardinals don't do enough of that, and it puts Kyler in a position where teams know, okay, it's 3rd and 15, it's time to pass the football, right? It's time to contain Kyler Murray, it's time to keep him in the pocket, and that's why they struggle.
I look at the difference in Kyler Murray, and I just want to see a lot more Patrick Mahomes and a lot less of Kyler Murray from the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, I think the difference is that Patrick Mahomes has a deep, deep understanding of what defenses are trying to do and where his guy will be based on what the defense is showing him. And I think that's the portion of the game that Kyler's still trying to catch up on.
Well, and I think you have to be between 4,500 and 5,000 yards passing.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not going to complete at a high percentage, your yardage had better be there, right? I mean, because this is a throw-first league. And I think if you're looking at the top quarterbacks in the NFL, whether that is a guy like a Russell Wilson, that's a guy that's throw first but runs because he wants to and can.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Tom Brady. He's throw first because he can't run, so he throws at a very elite level.
Right.
And he's got elite weapons to throw the football to, and their offensive line's pretty good, and he has an elite defense, right? So this team in Arizona has spent a ton of money on defense. So I will ask again, how much more impactful would Kyler Murray be if Tristan Wirfs was at right tackle?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If they had invested...
That's simple. I mean, that's just straight. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the Arizona Cardinals and you look at their roster, their money is spent on defense. And I think until DeAndre Hopkins got here, you were overwhelmingly tilted defensively because you are paying what is Chandler Jones's $20 million?
But Chandler Jones isn't the problem. Chandler Jones is leading the league in sacks, dude. Like he's like paying him.
He and J.J. Watt.
I'm fine to pay a guy like Chandler Jones because he's performing for you. Hey, I'm giving you X money. You're giving me X result. Perfect. That's fine. I don't worry about that. But what I worry about is these other guys who you're paying, not 20 a year, but you're paying 4 and 5 a year.
You're paying DJ Humphries 20 a year.
Okay, perfect example.
You're paying Justin Pugh 12 a year.
And you know what's frustrating about those two guys specifically? More Humphries than Pugh, but both are kind of in this same light. Those guys can't stay healthy. Those guys are always hurt. There's always something happening.
Yeah.
They're always playing with a bum knee or whatever. And so you're paying them to sit on the sideline. And I think your point about that, bringing that up first in this J.J. Watt conversation, that should be the biggest concern if you're a Cardinal fan. What good is it that the guy came here and took a picture of him squatting in the squat rack in the weightlifting facility, and, oh, yeah, I'm a Cardinal, and I'm in the nest, and we're playing in State Farm Stadium, and everything's great, if his ass is sitting on the sideline in street clothes? What good is it?
Yeah, it's a problem. I mean, it really is. If you look at the guys that they're paying at the top of their cap, Chandler Jones 1, defense. DJ Humphries, DeAndre Hopkins, Jordan Phillips, 4th, defense.
Nobody knows who Jordan Phillips is.
In a defensive lineman.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, though, I'm just saying my point is that you're paying guys that nobody's ever heard of.
$12 million cap number.
Yeah.
You look at Jordan Hicks, $9.5 million cap number.
He makes a difference for you.
Robert Alford, $9 million cap number. Like Devin Kennard, Budda Baker, Isaiah Simmons. Like you're paying the top of this defensive roster a ton of
What
your
are they
money.
paying Byron Murphy? Is Byron Murphy?
Well, he's still on his
he's on his rookie deal, right?
He's probably about $2 million worth of cap number. $949 cash, $2.1 million cap.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, look, I think, their cap isn't in a horrible situation, but they are paying a lot of guys who get hurt a lot. And I think that that's a recipe for, hey, we're going to get off to a hot start while everyone's healthy, and then we're going to be a 500 team.
Yeah, and finally, you don't have a ton of dead money, by the way. Because that had been a problem for this team for a while. But, hey, listen, J.J. Watt is a nice upgrade on the interior line.
You got to say his name right.
I can't. My wife gets upset when I curse.
J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt!